Hello Forkies, this is day 49 of me playing chess every day until I reach the rapid rating of 2500. So here we go. We have the game, we have the white pieces against a pretty lower rated opponent, so pawn to e4 it is, and the Sicilian defense, so let's play my favorite Sicilian, pawn to c3, dal up in Sicilian, knight c6 already kinda an inaccuracy, now d4 just very good move, striking in the center, taking back with the pawn of course. D5 now being the best move. There is D6 is a mistake. D6 is already like +1.5 for white, and I had an overboard game once, and I played something like knight c3, bishop c4, and knight f3, and I castled, and I completely crushed my opponent. There is also one other variation, which is to play d5 and then to play f4, and you should be much better. So let's push d5. And that's why you should have started with pawn to e6, and now f4 is the best move, not the winning idea yet. Of course, knight to g6 is forced here, and now we can continue developing with ease. Knight c3, something like knight c3, yes. Maybe e6 if it takes. I will take back with the knight probably, but I can also play bishop b5, bishop d7. Takes, queen takes. I don't think that's necessary just yet. Just knight f3, and then maybe bishop b5 if at all. So knight f3. Let's start with knight f3. If takes, just knight takes. a6, okay. I could still play queen a4, bishop d7, and bishop b5. He can take then. Well, that's logical. So maybe bishop c4 now, just to pressure some things here. That seems very nice. Also bishop d3 is a move, but bishop d3 kinda, I mean, interfere my queen from defending the d5 pawn. I mean, it is defended, but bishop c4 looks better, just piling on the pressure here and then simply castling. Let's play bishop c4. And yes, I have a pretty pleasant position, I must say. And I like what I'm doing here. Maybe even queen b3 with some double attacks, perhaps in the future. Maybe takes and then queen b3. But he plays queen b6 himself, stopping me from castling, which is very logical move if I'm completely honest. Queen e2 now comes to my mind. Why? Because I wanna play bishop e3 and defend the b2 pawn. Then queen c7. Maybe I slightly misplayed this one. But queen e2 now. If takes, knight takes. If then any check happens, just bishop d2. Everything should be as solid as possible. Queen e2. Developing the queen, bishop e3 and castling. My rooks will be connected. And he's kinda moving his queen around, he's moving his knight around to c6, then here and now here, and I am kinda overdeveloped now. Bishop e7, yes, a very nice developing square for the bishop, but I mean, what is it really doing? I guess bishop f6 at some moment, but now bishop e3 just attacking the queen. I suppose queen will go to c7, that's correct. Bishop b3 now, or bishop d3. I would like to play bishop b3 to still have this pawn over defended here, and rook c1 perhaps, and then takes, and maybe knight d5, bishop e3, b5, rook c1 definitely, b4, maybe just knight a4 and knight b6 also just knight a4 and knight b6 straight away. Seems like a very good option here, forking some pieces here. I mean, I have a lot of assets in my position. I have a lot of central space as well, and I mean, this open c-file on the queen side looks really nice for me. Knight f6, I get it. Knight g4 perhaps a threat after castles. Knight g4, what is happening, attacking my bishop. Then I guess just bishop d4, but e5 at some moment takes, and knight takes. But the f file also opens up, so just takes and queen f3 perhaps. And even if he gets to my bishop, I mean, is that big of a loss? Or should I invest a tempo with the move pawn to h3? I don't like the move h3 because it allows him to kinda stabilize the initiative, so just castles, and I will gambit the bishop pair, but he castles as well, so not any knight g4 ideas. Now how to do this? Now we are in a pretty normal middle game where I have much bigger center, and I have this open c file which I can of course completely take the control over. So just rook c1 and knight a4, probably a threat with knight b6 idea, so you go there. I mean, I suppose, but this is just too passive, right? Knight b6 is just nice idea. And then just h3 to not lose my bishop. Yeah, that's just pretty much it. Probably knight a4. Knight a4 here. I could just go here. After takes. I can just take the bishop and then trade off everything and place the rook on c1. So knight a4 it is. Bishop d7, I still go here. Maybe just take the bishop, perhaps, and then take here. That's an interesting idea with some queen c4 pinning. Then probably king f7 is, I mean, not forced, but of course I blundered a pawn, but that's not something I was expecting. Why? Because it simply loses the game on the spot. Well, I don't know what my opponent was thinking when he grabbed this pawn, but of course you really need to check if your piece is loose, and this piece is simply undefended here. So if I can move this bishop anywhere to this on this diagonal with a tempo, I should be just winning the piece. And that's true. I can play bishop b6, attacking the queen, it is defended, and then just pick up the knight. And my opponent played this move pretty much instantly. I don't know if I'm missing something. Bishop b6, queen d7. My knight is not hanging. I just take the knight. No, just bishop b6, excuse me. Attacking the queen and probably winning the game due to this tactic here. I mean, this was just a blunder. You cannot just take all your pawns. I mean, all pawns from your opponent, of course. Yes, also maybe knight takes on f4 will be his move, but this simply loses after queen e4, queen d7, and then I pick up yet another pawn, yet another piece, excuse me. I would be up 2 knights for a single pawn, and this is just overwhelming. Probably my opponent is thinking about resignation, and if he resigns, just like so, then I will analyze the game extensively, maybe some opening ideas and something like that, because I mean 10 minutes of a video is not long enough for you to learn something in this quality time that you're dedicating to chess. So we will go through with some analysis as well, and there is nothing there. Queen d7, queen e8 also a move, but knight takes here doesn't work. There is no knight c3 to capture my knight because the knight is on a4, and after knight c3 I could just pick up the knight. Not with my knight because bishop takes on b6 still. No, but I mean, this is probably just lost now, and my opponent is spending a lot of time here realizing he's probably just completely lost here. I mean, that's the pain and the beauty of chess, isn't it? What can I do? Here I just take here, then this pawn is also not quite hanging, but I mean just rook takes and then bishop takes here, some tactics to look after. Probably queen e8 the best move, but this still very hard I mean, this is just lost, right? There is nothing my opponent can do about it. Maybe he is looking for some insane sacrifices and some insane attacks that probably doesn't work. I don't know. I don't know. It's... Yes, for example, knight g3, but... Knight g3 is probably just lost. Anyway, I take the knight. And then if here, I just take... Oh, you go here. Okay, that's logical as well. I just take... If... And then the pawn is also hanging. I might as well sack the rook. Just pawn takes, bishop takes is check. If bishop takes, queen takes on a4. Yeah, but this is just check. And takes here doesn't quite work because the knight is hanging at the end of the line, but that doesn't quite matter. I go here with check, and I mean, after bishop takes, queen takes, king h8, I just play knight c3. Queen takes is check. Now my knight is hanging. I need to be kinda prepared for this as well. He's spinning himself, which is kinda impractical because I can play knight g5, bishop takes, queen takes, rook takes. Here I would have double pawns, which is not triple pawns, excuse me, which is not the best. So just knight c3 and knight d5 perhaps. That's just good enough, yeah. Anything else? This is the threat. Is he threatening anything else? Not really. There is no check with the bishop to threaten my queen. Although there might be in the future. So here. No, but even here and d5 I just take it, right? As easy as that. But I mean d5, yes, d5 is the natural move, but because you simply wanna play bishop c5 check and winning the queen here, but 35 I can just take with the queen. I don't need to take back with the bishop, with the knight. And even if this happens, I mean, it's not that lost because I take back with the bishop, or maybe with the rook, and after queen takes, maybe knight c7 fork. Although probably the bishop here is also hanging, so that's not really nice. But I won't blunder my queen. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time I blunder the queen in a winning position. But if he doesn't play d5, he's just lost, yes. Now I can just play here. Threatening to take, and knight g5 also coming. Knight d5. Threatening to take and play knight g5. If here queen takes, I might just take, then play knight g5 anyway. And I mean, he doesn't have a single pawn for a piece, so the conversion shouldn't be very hard to deal with. King h8, I guess, but then just takes, and here rook f6, I guess. Nothing special. Queen h3 threatening here, or maybe just play slowly. I mean, winning up a piece shouldn't be that hard, but he just blundered once again. I can just take here and then knight g5. A rook takes and knight g5. Is there anything I'm missing? Here I just take, no, knight g5. I mean, GG, what can I say? You could just blunder with king h8 again, but no, I just take here, alright? Queen takes, knight takes. And I guess rook c7, he's still not resigning, although he is down a rook. Yeah, rook c7 check. King e6 loses due to... Oh, my opponent just resigns. GG, I guess. I mean, it is +6 though. So let's game review the game. Game review the game, that's the phrase of the day. And we are back to 2000, let's go. Yesterday I lost and the recording suddenly stopped, and you should watch that game as well. So yes, I played with 82% accuracy, not the best. My opponent played with 73, not the best either. Let's check the game. So e4 and pawn to c5 it was. Now probably the best move is to play knight f3, and after something like d6 just d4, and this is the open Sicilian with something like the Najdorf, like a6 stopping anything. This is the Najdorf. After knight f3 you can play all sorts of things. g6, I mean knight c6, b6 probably also a move here. But I play c3, which is kind of the sideline, and the sharp Sicilian players don't really know how to react to this. But there are two options. Either you play d5 and then just take advantage that knight cannot go to c3, and we get a pretty normal game, something like knight a3. Knight c6 is already bad because of knight b5 threatening the fork. So yes, but the other option is after pawn to c3 to play knight f6 attacking the pawn. Then e5 here at e4 takes, knight f3 you cannot take because your knight is hanging here, so you just play something like this, d6. And this is just the main variation. This is just the main line. Now e6 because I'm threatening to push with d5 and win here. So here, yeah, just castles and rook d8 or something like that, which is just fine. And I like having these kind of positions. But after c3 there are also many other options like e6, d6, even knight c6. Yes, so my opponent chose to play knight c6, which is okay. I just strike in the center, d4 takes, and now d6 is just a tremendous blunder. I play d5, and the best move, yes, you play knight b8 and knight d7, but after here just f4, and that's something I have analyzed before, because as I mentioned, I had an over the board game in this position. So knight g6 and knight c3, yes, e6, and I played the move knight f3, which is given an inaccuracy. I probably should have played bishop b5, although knight f3 is the top engine move, or the second best move by the computer here. I mean, knight f3 is just fine. Developing your king's knight, a6 and bishop c4 is a mistake because of e5. But still, that's just okay, +1 for me. After e5, f5, where do we go with the knight? Knight h4, knight takes, queen takes, g3, the pawn is defended here, and I'm in queen d8, and who would say that black is okay here? I mean, look at this center, and I will castle, put the king on g2, have some attack here. And yes, I mean, he should have played after bishop c4, remove e5, kind of closing down the center, but he played queen b6, which is... Oh, I can just take here, after f takes, just push f5. Okay, that's the winning idea. I played queen e2 instead, threatening to play bishop e3. I mean, preparing bishop e3, but I should have played takes, f takes, and f5. What about pawn takes? Bishop takes knight, rook takes, and knight d5. Queen d8, of course, threatening knight c7. Now e takes on f5, bishop takes, and castles. And I am down a pawn, and this position is seemingly completely winning for white. Why? Bishop e4, knight d4, bishop e4, knight e6, not sacking the knight. I mean, look at these knights. Yes, knight e7 now, I guess wins. But I played queen e2 with a simple idea to play bishop e3 and the b2 pawn will be defended. So now the best move was to play e5 once again, and I'm still pretty much better, and after bishop e7 I'm just winning once again. I played bishop e3, which was fine, queen c7 and queen, not queen, but bishop to b3, which is given a question mark, which is kind of weird. I should have played d takes. Oh my... What? How can I be so stupid? My bishop is actually defended. So I understand why bishop e3 is a mistake. My bishop is defended, that's why I played queen e2 in the first place, to defend everything. Okay, bishop b3 still okay. Castles here. And castles from black. I played rook c1, queen d8, and knight a4, which gives the advantage partially away. But of course my idea is to push, to play knight b5, knight b6, but after takes, e5, d takes on e5, f takes on e5, knight g4, and bishop b6, the position is still quite okay. Queen e8 the only move, because knight c5 otherwise. But yes, after knight to a4, my opponent just took seemingly free pawn. Of course, after bishop b6, you are just lost. I mean, I attack you and attack you here. Knight g3, just h takes on g3, queen e8, and just here. Bishop takes, queen takes, check, rook f7. Knight c3, trying to play knight d5 next move. And here I thought about playing d5. I cannot take, because bishop c5. Rook c5 is still a draw. Here and then knight g5, of course, forking. Queen f, let's go here and just takes. Queen takes. And this is apparently a draw, even though I blundered a queen in one move. But okay, that didn't happen. Knight c3, he played queen f8. Knight d5 and bishop e8. I took, he took, and I played knight g5. Rook e8, queen takes on f7, queen takes, knight takes, and then check. And here is where my opponent resigned. It was a pretty fast game, but given the fact that I played a pretty low rated opponent, that's kinda logical. And yes, if you have anything to tell me, anything to ask me, please write that in the comments below. I will be reading and answering all of your comments. And of course, if you like the video, please consider subscribing, it would really help me out. And see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye!